understand, perceive peace? When we say peace, or if all my five senses have come to peace.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I've come to the understanding, or rather a reconciliation, that in this world of interactions, that is mostly a individual dependent reaction, you may say, or rather a non-reaction.
Okay.
Just a balance, rather, as she was trying to say.
Right. But see, that's why, we hear all this stuff, but how do I kind of bring it to a state of implementation, correct? Practically. And peace, balance, all these words we hear, it's just a state of mind. And this state of mind is never constant. It's like a pendulum, right? It goes one way, total non-peace, anxiety, frustration, all negative emotions. It'll come to a zero, balanced state, and utter calmness, the other extreme. So we are swinging like a pendulum. And should we stop this pendulum? Absolutely not. That's a natural way of life. Lot of things could go wrong in our life, lot of things could go right in our life. It's always like that. And suppose if I am not reacting to a situation, right, then I am not a human. I mean, I have to react to a situation the way it should be. But how much I react is a different story. So, the lessons I've learned from our teachers, masters, is we should be like a sponge. When you hit a sponge, when you put a pressure on it, it squeezes. You remove the pressure on it, it regains its normal state. So whenever there is a pressure, we squeeze. That is a absolutely normal thing. If I am not squeezing, I am not at peace, means I am resisting it. Wherever there is a resistance, there is non-peace. Okay. So this is something I kind of felt in yesterday's meditation. So we should be able to face it. We have to have the courage to see where it goes. Wherever there is resistance, no peace. Means no harmony. And I am not being natural. So even in meditation, if I say a lot of thoughts are coming, I want those thoughts to stop. So there is a resistance. We are always thinking about future, and we want to avoid all other negative circumstances. There is some resistance in the present. But we don't have the courage to see what happens next. Let me see it. Whatever happens, whatever that is. But just because I thought about a future situation, I must take necessary precautions. I must prepare myself. Correct? So here no resistance doesn't mean I am kind of letting it go. I mean, I am letting it, I'm not preparing for it. We are always preparing for it. At the same time, we have to be free in our nature, free in our mind, so that I can face whatever that situation is. Whether it's health or anything else. So life as an animal being, faced with so many things. Today we are well protected. We are not in the jungle. Right? We don't know which animal is going to come and attack in the jungle. But now we are well protected. But even In that well-protection, things can go wrong. In a well-protected environment, things can go wrong. And things can go right. So how do I attain that balance where balance here really means no resistance? I'm not resisting it. Rather, I'm facing it. I'm ready to, take that challenge in my life, whether it's whatever that situation is. And when I meditate with all that free mind. So when a free mind is not looking for peace, a free mind is not looking for balance. What that free mind is looking for is this higher dimension, the divine essence. That's what it is going for. So when we say
That's
peace,
interesting.
yeah.
That's interesting.
So all this spiritual anatomy is not about those vibrations, circles, vibrating as you saw in the diagram, fancy. But what I need to become free so that I can look for this higher dimension. Only a free mind can look for it. Only the free mind can divert its mind towards the Lord. Otherwise, a troubled mind says, God, Lord, save me from this trouble. It is not looking for the Lord, it is looking to avoid the trouble, to resist the trouble. See? So bhakti, in Indian terminology we call devotion. Devotion is not to save yourself. Devotion is for us to look at the Lord. And Lord should become the total. So this is not an emotional state. This is a real state where it is longing to be in complete oneness with the Lord. And that can only happen with the free mind, not with the troubled mind. So how do I free myself? So the heartfulness methods are all about freeing your mind, cleaning. Point B cleaning, point A meditation. If there is a lot of things are troubling us, then we are looking for the limb cleaning, other techniques. So many. So that my mind can become free. When the free mind is always longing for the higher state, the divine state. A troubled mind is looking to avoid the trouble. And the troubled mind also pretends it is very devout person, devout individual. I am always thinking about the Lord. For what? So, for what is the question? I am always thinking about the Lord. For what? To avoid all my troubles. Not for the sake of the Lord. So that's why meditation is to become free. Even when we are meditating, the act of meditation itself should be free. If I say I am meditating for peace, if I am meditating for better sleep, if I say I am meditating for, there itself is a failure. I am meditating because I am getting to my natural state of my being. It is not about going deep into meditation, what we call samadhi. Right? Or there are some higher states, we so-called higher states, which are named in the scriptures. Babuji said it's like the worm relishing it in the cow dung. Cow dung is a nice word. It's a relishing, worm is relishing in that. Nothing better than that. So it's another pleasure. But the joy is something different. We've been talking about it. So a free mind is joyful. It's an unconditional happiness. A free mind can only look at the divine. A free mind only can seek the divine. Or a free mind will attempt to become the divine itself. And so it is making its journey towards oneness. So regardless of whatever the situation we are going through, as we meditate, as we follow the methods, we become free. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Raj, for bringing up this discussion. So the spiritual anatomy is, in fact, I asked Daji directly, it's in one of the recordings, I'll share it with you. So if the ultimate state, what we call, there is an inanimate state and an animate state. All life is in an animated state, but it also can experience inanimate state. So the heart is the juxtaposition, an intersection between the inanimate and the animate. Even symbolically, the cross represents, in the Christianity, we kind of take this cross as a symbol. The cross is an intersection of animate and inanimated state. So the idea is to become from an animate state to go into the inanimate state. So then I asked Daji, if the inanimate state is the goal, why are we talking about all these movements, clockwise, anti-clockwise, and things like that? He said, when you are in a state of, in a life as an existence, don't you want to cherish life? You want to live like a dead? Not really, right? So in a way, by going through all these higher conscious states, experiencing them from one point to another, it sort of gives us the joy of the journey. But that's not the goal. The goal is something much higher than that. Okay. So all we are striving for is that higher goal. So the journey is kind of laid out so that we read about it, we understand it. But when I say, oh, I have passed through this already, I've already experienced, I've been through those streets, those galleys, then it would be nice, wonderful to kind of look back. That means I can validate my experience with that spiritual journey. So it's kind of two-way. I was actually discussing with Cliff, I think day before yesterday, right? So the journey, one way you read, you understand, you kind of acquire some information. It's information only, whatever we read. But when I experience and then when I read back, then you say, oh, I have already been through this. Somehow it reminds you that you have been there, the experience of it. And at every point you go through, as you make through this journey and then read it, it makes more sense. But nevertheless, we have to have that information so that we can get some direction from it. Okay. So any other comments, questions?
Another way to look at it, that journey as an expedition.
So, if I have to get a participant and say, yeah, I think the goal is to climb the Mount Everest, Himalaya, a lot of people will just walk away. They say, I'm not fit for it. I'm not made for the mountain Everest. But, as an expedition, you have these, what's the word? You have these smaller goals that you go through, kind of like you said earlier. I'm just saying it in a different way, that, you reach somewhere, you kind of validate, and then that gives you, the confidence and strength to continue forward. The ultimate goal is to get to the Mount Everest. But along the journey, knowing where you are, assessing, validating, kind of helps. It could be another way to look at it.
Right. And in fact, 2 weeks back, Naresh Bhai, I was saying that you are already on the Mount Everest. And then I'm saying my goal is to reach Mount Everest. Okay. So that's why in spirituality, the goal is always there already. It's not a new finding, but only a realization. So my conviction is that in every meditation, we do achieve, we do reach that, we do realize that goal. Because we don't have the comprehension of it, slowly it kind of opens up in every meditation. So the idea is every time we meditate, regardless of my state of being, the goal is achieved. The final goal we are talking about is already achieved. So that's the beauty of spirituality. So who can achieve it? Everyone can do it in every meditation. Well, it's completely comprehensible, depends on the state of the mind. So, all right, so let's get into meditation. So please start meditation.